Thank you for joining us for the presentation of the Peace Wheel. I started this presentation because of trying to implement lifestyle changes in patients, and I was hitting a lot of resistance. And so the way I start this presentation is by asking the patient, okay, how much of the time do you feel at peace? And the definition of peace is not necessarily being happy, but just being accepting what is, and also the absence of any kind of emotions that would cause any physical tension. No worry, no anxiety, none of it. So basically the definition of peace is to be aware, to be wise, to be logical, and to obviously be kind. And the definition of resistance, or the symptoms of resistance, would be as follows, and it can be within you or within the other person that you're interacting with. But the trouble with resistance is also activating the fight or flight and the adrenaline. And that can actually give you energy. However, it is quite costly on the body. Years of fight or flight takes its toll on the physical body and the hormonal system. And unless you have a lion running after you, this fight or flight is actually not real. It's in the realm of fiction. And our reaction can be to someone, or it can be to something. And a situation, for example, like a flat tire, like 30 people in front of you at the post office, that could activate your resistance. And to people. And to people, it could be, people close to you, co-workers, and we tend to resist them, and it can activate our emotions. However, when people are acting the way they are, or they're saying what they're saying, they are demonstrating where they're at emotionally and intellectually. And the IQ is not necessarily the controlled IQ that you test in the psychologist's office, but it's the ability to adapt. And whether you're being asked to adapt to a flat tire, or you're being asked to adapt to a conflict situation, that is going to be reflecting your IQ at that minute. Now, your IQ could be 140, you could be a genius, or you could be 160, but the second you get emotional, your IQ is actually dropping 40, 50 points. So the ability to adapt can fluctuate with your knowledge, obviously, your emotion, and also your lifestyle if you didn't sleep well. So looking at this, you cannot take personally what people say, because obviously they don't owe you any wisdom. So you can no longer say who upsets me or what upsets me. You transform this into saying who or what am I not accepting? Because ultimately people don't do things to bother you. They say things and they act according to their own IQ at the time. And that goes for oneself as well. If you think you've made a mistake, or you said something last Thursday at 2:30, well, you did it according to your IQ at the time. So there's no reason to feel guilt. If you need to make amends, you make amends, but you don't need to feel guilty. And with a big portion of the population, we have lots of worries, whether they're constant thoughts coming in our head or people's comments that bother us. And the way you can process them is three ways. Either the thoughts are unarguable, like it's morning or afternoon, or I have a pen in my hand, or if it could be something not pleasant either. If you broke your ankle, you broke your ankle. It is what it is. So there comes a certain acceptance with what's unarguable. What humans have trouble with and spend way too much time with is what's arguable. And that's opinions, emotion, and they're subjective, and they can't be proven right. So we spend too much time with it, and if they cannot be unarguable, they should be put in a trash can, in the fiction trash can. And there's a third category that's unknown. That can leave us a little bit uneasy to have so many things that are unknown around us, but we have no choice. And to battle the unknown is a lost battle. So we also have to accept what we don't know, whether it's just us not knowing or the whole humankind. So I'm looking at the whole picture now. I'll give you a few examples about about that resistance part, especially looking at the guilt and grudges. Now, if we remember the whole IQ EQ scenario, you really should get rid of these very quickly, any guilt or grudges. So guilt is for yourself and grudges against others. Because again, anybody does what they do according to their IQ. That could be oversimplifying, but it is true. If they knew better, they wouldn't have done what they did. And that goes for us as well. And anxiety and fear and all of that are fictional reaction to scenarios. So that also is consuming a lot of energy and is pretty much useless. And what part of it of us is resisting? It's not our essence, it's not our personality, but it's more our ego. Because we have expectation, we want to look good, we want to have a perfect grade, and that's why we get defensive. Again, that would be an emotional interference in our IQ as well. And labeling too, I would just one down that list here. Labeling, if we label eating healthy, for example, a chore, well, we're going to be in trouble because we need to make lifestyle changes. So be careful when you label that it is not a resistance that's futile. And now knowingly that, society and the advertising industry wants you to be on that left side in the resistance because you're a much better consumer. You're going to be eating comfort food, you're going to be buying things you don't need, the Gucci bag and whatever you don't need. And because you think you need that in order to, to look okay. So that's self-consciousness, and that's ego again. And that makes you work for something that's basically a bottomless pit of need that you really don't have. Now, when you're at peace, you're obviously not a very good consumer. You need, family time, you need to, cook healthy dinners, and you need fun with friends, but that's not very rewarding for society. So, but knowing that you're not there to be a consumer, you're there to be at peace and happy. So, all right. Now, we do have no problem accepting the totally mentally handicapped because we have minimal expectations. We know they're not going to do our taxes, and we're not expecting them to make us feel good. On the right side, totally, you have the Mother Teresa, Nelson Mandela. We obviously have no trouble accepting them because they're close to perfect. But the rest of us are the 98%, what I call the half crazies. And it's you, and it's myself, and it's everyone around us. And we first have to accept that we resist most of the time. So, when we're resisting, we're kind of a little insane, and that's okay. So the first step is to accept where we're at in order to give it to change. And the only job that we have before we croak, basically, is to reverse this ratio. And why not way before? That way we have a more pleasant life. So the only commitment that you have to do is to commit to accept what is, and also commit to reject fiction. And that's the only thing you have to do. And anytime that you feel any physical tension, you know you're resisting. So again, you're not going to say, who did this to me? You're going to say, what am I not accepting? But be careful too using this peace will to try to tell someone else, because it's a lot easier to just work on yourself. And by working on yourself and throwing basically kindness around you, people will change as well. So you cannot really tell someone, well, you're insane or you're resisting or you're in fiction. You're basically going to use it for yourself and be at peace. And that's how you basically model it. And when somebody is in total resistance, especially when they're in deep resistance, even violent or angry, there's nothing you can say that's going to make them change other than, throwing kindness at them and removing yourself from the situation if necessary. And thank you for your time.